Hi, welcome back. We're at ADIPEC 2022. I'm your host, Kathryn Ogilvie from Wood, and joining me is my colleague Yuriy from Wood, and also Steve. Steve, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Steve Griffiths. I'm Senior Vice President, Research and Development and Professor of Practice at the Khalifa University of Science and Technology, located here in Abu Dhabi.
Fantastic. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We're going to be talking about future skills and what actually we need to do to, I suppose, resource the energy industry for the future and how that will work with the energy transition. Steve, can you tell us a little bit about what you actually do in your role? I mean, you've got this obviously incredibly impressive title. How does that translate to skills in the education sector for the energy industry?
Well, the core of my job is to oversee the research and development activity at the university. So all the research administration, all the research centers, all the research institutes are within the scope of my job. Importantly, when we do look at the research centers and institutes and even the administrative side, we tend to think about professional researchers, research scientists, research engineers, but the student is extraordinarily important. The university is about students. And so in the course of the research that we do at the university, we're always trying to see how we prepare students for the future that's important for Abu Dhabi and the UAE. And the energy sector, of course, is critical. It's one of our very big strategic priorities.
Fantastic. And Yuriy, perhaps you can just tell me briefly, what's your role in Wood?
Yeah, my job title is Senior Learning and Development Manager. And I look after development of our employees holistically, regardless of their job title, position in the organization, right from the starting point, the early graduates, early careers people, and all the way up to the senior leadership in the organization. Yeah.
How long, can I ask, how long have you been with Wood for, or in the profession?
11 years. 11 years with Wood, and in learning and development for the last 20. Definitely my passion. Yeah, don't want to do anything else.
Have you seen a shift in what people are actually looking for in, I suppose, skills of candidates, and especially in the last 5 years, considering the pandemic?
Oh, definitely. Huge shift. Yeah, traditionally it has been more focused on the technical, like understanding the technicalities of the role, depending on where the role of the person, what the role of the person is, their position and job title. They were more interested in developing their kind of core professional technical skills. So if it's a document controller, then it would be about document management. If it's a project manager, so obviously about project management. If these engineers would be core technical engineering skills. But recently, the biggest shift that I've noticed is people are more interested in investing their time and effort into learning more about people. So that's the biggest shift.
So could you expand on that a little bit? When you say learning about people, do you mean communication, negotiate, like soft skills?
Well, for the start of the 10, I don't like the term soft skills because it kind of diminishes the value of the skill. I like to call them business critical skills. Yeah, business critical skills like, communication, negotiation, influencing skills. So these are kind of the core skills that would allow you to perform at your level best in the team, in the team environment.
And Steve, if I can ask you in terms of, obviously you work across the education sector and you've been involved in it, I'm guessing, for quite a long time, is that right? So what have you seen in your career life to date? How has it changed from when you originally started out to what you think now is required to, say, go into a technical engineering role?
Well, I think a lot of the shift is related to what's happening at a global level. So when we look at the things that are really top of mind, environment is very, very big. So now we know that global warming and all the things that have followed even from the pandemic, awareness of what can happen if you don't properly think about issues which could arise in the future from potential large-scale problems. Climate's become very big on the minds of students, professionals, and like. Secondly, the technology, the landscape has been evolving very, very quickly. So as we look at what the student skill set needs to be for the future, we need to prepare them to use the tools they're going to be using that are based on the trends we're seeing, especially around digital technologies. So when I'm looking at the future of what the employers need and then how that matches up with the students, employers, because the landscape is shifting so rapidly, looking for very efficient talent. They want people that can come in and help them with their core business very quickly with the right skills. So skills-based hiring to help them become a more productive, efficient company within the context of, say, energy transition. Those that they're looking for tend to be pretty mobile. They're looking for jobs which are going to satisfy them. They're looking for jobs where they can use their skills productively. And so it's not necessarily a lifetime employee that's coming to the organization. It's an employee that wants a satisfying job. It's going to be rewarding and address these types of issues like climate change and be part of that context. We're also seeing students need to become very aware of the technologies that are in the digital space. So companies today, I don't know if I've been to one session where there hasn't been a discussion about the digital needs for the future. We're going to get into robotics, we're going to get into machine learning, artificial intelligence, we're going to use the blockchain, all these kind of things that the future employee needs to be aware of. If not being the developer, being someone that can work alongside those that are developing. So I'd say the skill set that's become quite critical, and I think Yuriy mentioned a couple things. You need people that are great analytical thinkers, critical thinkers, very agile to change, adaptable, trainable. You also need people with the right skill set. So engineers, yes, people that know project management, but people that are digitally savvy. They know how to use the tools, which if you're in your 20s or 30s, you use anyway. But now coming into the organization and being able to talk about what is the supply chain when you're managing blockchain, via blockchain, right? How do you do that? How does the developer who's using machine learning tools with your data utilize those data to make your business better? And how can I translate a business problem to that person? These types of things I'm seeing being very important for employers. And so students want to get trained to be able to do this. Working with great companies, thinking about the future in the company, and then utilizing tools important for the company and which the students find to be useful for them and also part of their outlook for employment skill sets to be learned for any one company they work with.
So you're obviously working at a university with, I'm guessing, the majority of younger students are younger. Is that right? Or
we have undergraduates and graduate students. So students, master's degree students, PhD students.
But in their 20s, for example, majority?
Yeah, between 18 and 22, more or less. Maybe 25, 30 if you're going to be a graduate student.
So a little bit off topic, but what do you think the energy industry can do to attract those students into working oil, gas, into the energy transition?
That's a good question.
To make it attractive? Because obviously the industry has a bit of a reputational issue. So what do you think we could do to address that?
There's two things. It's a good point because every time I talk about the oil and gas sector, people say, don't say oil and gas, say energy. So first thing is branding. How do you make the future employees, even the current employees, feel as though they're part of a solution rather than they are the problem? So the organization itself needs to create an image that is very positive, very proactive toward what we were talking about before, the entire climate change issue that we're facing for the future. Secondly, it needs to be a company, or the students need to feel like they're coming into a company where it's technologically focused. So we don't want to be considering our employers today as being yesterday's employer. Where will the company be going in the future? So on the branding side, you want to see the types of things happening around the social media messages with companies that are looking at changing their names to be something more energy focused. Total Energies, for instance, Qatar Energy locally came up with their name more recently. Schlumberger is SLB, I think. Everyone in the sector, all the companies are trying to think about how they can position themselves to be a little bit more forward-looking in the way their branding and imaging is. And also projecting where their business is going to go to help align with the solution rather than the problem. Whether or not you're getting into clean energy, you're using carbon capture and storage, you're getting into hydrogen, showcasing how all that's happening to make the companies energy focused, which can be part of the future solution. Secondly is the technology set. So companies are competing for talent, which could work in tech companies today. So we talk about digital. If I'm someone who's digitally savvy and can help a company use their big data for analytics, I've got to be excited by the company's offerings in that space. So companies need to be able to showcase that they've got these jobs, they've got these opportunities where a digitally savvy person, student, in their 20s or 30s or older than that, they can be involved in something which is going to be a forward-looking technology industry. So I think that's another place where we want to have companies showcasing what they're doing.
Yeah. And Yuriy, from an employer perspective, what do you think that the employer could be doing to attract people into the sector?
Well, I definitely don't envy Steve's jobs because they're trying to predict the future, right? So because people who you are preparing now are going to be employed for the next 40 years or so. trying to predict what kind of skills and knowledge people will need in the next 40 years is probably very tremendous job to do. We can't predict even 3 to 4 or 5 years in advance, but I mean, trying to prepare for 40 years. For me, I think the more critical skill for young graduates to have is learning how to learn. Yeah, because we very often, what I notice from our employees, they take things for granted. We've been learning all our lives, and we think we know how to learn. No, we don't. We don't understand how to learn best ways, how to learn quicker, how to learn faster. And this creates a competitive advantage for the people who learn better, who learn quicker. Obviously, they grab the cream, straight ahead. And the world is changing, and the quicker you learn in the future, the more adaptable you will become and more employable you will become in the future. So for me, that's a critical skill of learning how to learn. One other skill that I also wanted to touch upon that comes from Ken Robinson, Sir Ken Robinson, in his most popular TED Talk of all times. He speaks about creativity. Creativity being even as important as literacy nowadays. And that's another skill that is required, so to come up with inventive solutions as the world starts coming up with new challenges. So you need to come up with creative solutions. A couple of things from my stakeholders that are inquiring things from my side. It's design thinking, problem solving.
Sorry, did you say design thinking?
Design thinking.
Can you explain what does that mean?
Design thinking is a specific approach to problem solving, to the way you solve problems, with customer being at the center of it. Yeah, so that's a kind of a specific process, but at the same time, that's a skill that is required for our engineering population specifically.
Okay. Steve, do you have anything to add to that, perhaps, in terms of design thinking, right to left thinking? There's all these sort of buzzwords currently used in the educational and resource employment sector. Anything else that you sort of think is actual, that has a significant meaning?
Well, I mean, I totally agree with this. I mean, the terms I'm using over and over are critical thinking, analytical thinking, applying those skills to transferable knowledge sets, or getting transferable skills, utilizing those capabilities. Because I think today, at one point we thought we would work in a company for our lifetimes, our careers, move up the career ladder, et cetera. Today, the landscape is shifting so quickly that we're not sure with the students who their future employer is going to be. Where will they find the best opportunity? The energy companies are moving very quickly within their domains. They're looking for new talents. They want students that are now part of their company as employees to be able to move laterally, work with people. So I think it's that core set of skills on top of the things like digital technology capabilities that need to be emphasized. So I'm in agreement with Yuriy.
So do you think, is there obviously, as you were saying, people used to go into jobs and they'd stay there for 20, 30, 40 years and have their whole career. Do you think mainly millennials go into a job for a few years and choose to leave? And if so, why do they choose to leave a company?
If the company provides a compelling value proposition, obviously good pay matters, having upward mobility in the organization so that you continually have training programs to get the student upskilled, opportunities, stability, opportunities to work with colleagues and peers that are perceived as being part of a greater good the company's doing. I think that's the kind of environment that would keep an employee within the company. And if that's not available, then if there's the right skill set, then you'll see the employees going to other organizations.
So, Yuriy, is there anything besides, not just speaking on behalf of Wood, but as someone who's worked in the industry for a long time as an employer, what do you think retains people, besides the monetary value, obviously, of being well paid?
So, a couple of things that I heard from employees. Clarity about career path. So different people mean different things about career paths, but in general, this is how they call it, like, I want to have a clarity about my career path. And I would like to see the development opportunities. If the development opportunities and the clarity of career path is there, so people might stay longer and not decide to jump ship. Because usually how people look at it is like, my career is my project. Yeah, I'm my own project. And in that case, where is the better way to develop my project or to have those growth opportunities? And people look at it that way, holistically at their own career at the moment. So not like I'm attached to this company and I need to be developing my career over here. No, it's not. So people started thinking laterally about their careers. So if the opportunities are not here, if I have a better ladder to progress my career in a different organization, they will do that. They will jump ship.
Yeah. In terms of designing programs, like educational programs, like for example, I did a media studies degree. That doesn't exist anymore. So are you looking at the way degrees are now designed, the subject components of them, for jobs that are going to probably come up in the next 5 years?
That's one of the most critical aspects of the university. So on the academic side of the house, finding the programs which are going to prepare the students for all the fundamentals that they're going to have to be involved in, particularly the data science capabilities, the data engineering capabilities, those are becoming core. Having the design thinking, having programs where students can get actively involved and thinking about how they can take their knowledge, their skills, and put those together to solve a problem in a creative way, essentially important to the programs being developed. I'd say also not forgetting that when you're having industries move ahead quickly, you need engineers that know how to solve a company's problems. So having internships, although it's not a program per se within the university, connecting students in programs to internships with companies that can then engage a student to train them for the types of skills they'll need when they hit the workforce within a couple of years is a big part of what we're doing as well. So building out these capabilities, which can cut across multiple different academic programs, and then trying to link those core skills to the practical knowledge the companies need. Because as I said previously, skills-based hiring is where a lot of organizations are looking now. They don't want just someone who's let's say a good athlete. They want someone who can play the game right when they hit the ground running in the sport that they're getting into.
Yeah. Yuriy, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, attitude is definitely critical over here, but also in terms of the designing learning programs, I think people have less and less time to invest into their development because of daily routines, obsession about utilization. So people want to have a just-in-time learning. Yeah. So exactly like we all do now. If you want to watch something, you don't wait. Yeah. You go to the internet. You go to your Netflixes. You go to this and that, and you just find whatever you want to watch. It's the same thing with learning at the moment. So if I need to learn something, I'll need an immediate information. Yeah. So something that would teach me to do things in the next 5, 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. So what I see is the trend that we are shortening the programs now for just-in-time learning, just-in-time application. So it's kind of the buzzwords like the bite-sized learning, the just-in-time learning, the short mini learning sessions. So this is the approach now at the moment in the design. Yeah. So we would like to provide the employees with kind of resources for them to find the learning whenever they need it. Yeah, not to train them in advance, because that doesn't help anybody. Yeah, because majority of that learning is going to be lost within the first months. If they don't start applying it, they lose it. Yeah, up to 90% of that learning is going to be lost within the first month.
So if you were to give a 21-year-old or 22-year-old advice when they're just about to finish their degree and start looking for a job, what would you tell them to look for in an employer or a career path? A double-edged question, really.
Will you start with me?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Look, I think although we talked about skills being transferable and the ability to move between jobs, we want the students to go to an employer they feel is the right employer. So look for companies that have a very good view to the future, aligned with what you feel is your core principles, your values, helping with the energy transition, being a positive force for the future. Feel good about where you're going. It's not just about pay. It's about seeing that company being part of a solution. Secondly, will the company offer you the ability to showcase your skills as holistically as possible? So if we train the student possibly, the students have a lot of skills, critical thinking, analytical thinking, digital skills. Will the company be able to give you the type of job to be rewarding, satisfying, and keep you engaged? I would say for a student, look very closely at that type of employment opportunity and don't jump into the first high-paying job offer.
What about yourself, Yuriy? What would you tell them?
Yeah, probably my favorite question. Yeah, I always say find your passion.
Favorite question?
Or my favorite question
okay,
it is.
great.
Yeah, it's all about finding your passion. So whatever you are passionate about, don't be concerned about the job that pays well, exactly to follow from my colleague over here. So it's not about the pay. So people ask me all the time, so Yuriy, which job pays well? I say any job pays well as long as you are a professional in whatever you're doing. And the only way to become a professional, if you're passionate about the topic that you're a subject matter expert in. So I say, go with your passion, find your passion, whatever you love doing. Yeah. They say,
what about for those students who can't find their passion, but obviously they need to earn an income?
Invest into finding your passion. So spend time in thinking about what do you love doing. Yeah, love doing, not like doing. Yeah, love doing. Yeah, Simon Sinek says it lovely. So he says like is rational, love is emotional. So you need to find something that you are really emotional about, something that would makes you tick, something that would you wake up in the morning and would do that for free. For free, without anybody asking you to do that. So that would be kind of my advice. So find something that you really love doing and invest into kind of getting into that.
Okay. Lastly, what would you tell your 21-year-old self if you were going to look for a job?
Well, I kind of like what I do. So, I mean, I wouldn't change what I've done. I'd say if I was giving advice to a 21-year-old, make sure when you get into the job that you're going to do, you're on the right track to follow your passion. Yuriy said it, I'll repeat it. When you start down a career track and you start to get toward your 30s, your 40s, you can't change very quickly. You start to acquire a skill set, a knowledge set, a depth of domain knowledge, which allows you to move up fairly quickly in an organization once you become quite valuable. So you don't want to be too much laterally jumping back and forth. You want to anchor yourself in the progression that you see being most valuable to you and make sure that you're able to be always upskilling yourself and making sure you're enhancing your value, but going in the path that you think is the long-term sustainable path for your own ambitions and interests.
I like that. And I like the fact that it's not, if I could tell my 21-year-old self or my 30-year-old self, I would have said it's not all about the money. It's about the experience and aligning yourself to a company, which is why I do enjoy working at Wood, because I like the value of the company and I like the people. Yuriy, what about yourself, your 21-year-old self?
My 21-year-old self, I would say.
Carefree, 4 children probably. What would you tell yourself, besides just going out and having a good time? Or?
I think biggest advice that I could give myself is don't go with your comfort zone. Yeah, push yourself into the stretch. That's how you find your passion. So when you stretch yourself, when you push yourself and start experimenting with different kinds of things. So this is when you find and learn your passion, and you'll quickly find what you love doing by doing the experiments, by pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. Because if you just go with your comfort, there is no learning in comfort. Yeah, and without learning, we're just professionally dying.
Lastly, do you have any other comments about new skills needed for the future? Well,
I would say if there's one skill set that a student needs to be involved in understanding deeply today, it's the digital skill set. This is where the world's going. And many jobs will be automated, for sure. But there's many jobs that will be complemented by digital technologies. And so when you get in the workforce, you want to be able to use the tools offered to you to be better at what you do. So you don't have to be a computer scientist, you don't have to be a programmer, but you have to be able to work alongside those that are using those tools, and you have to be able to work with the algorithms. That's what I say, work alongside the algorithms and be digitally savvy in how you look at the future and the technologies you need to understand.
That's great advice, actually. Yuriy, anything from you? Closing comments?
Yeah, well, as I said, so invest into learning how to learn, because the quicker you do it, the more you understand about yourself, how you learn best. So that will create some competitive advantage for you in the future. So you'll learn quicker, you'll be top of the market, top of the cream.
Great. Well, thank you both for your time today. I appreciate it. And thank you from Wood, and thank you for coming to ADIPEC.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathryn.